What's up, everybody? My name is Scott Paddock, and today we are going to talk about rhythmic development. When musicians start improvising, one of the biggest problems they run into is coming up with different rhythms when they are making things up. So today, I'm going to give you some practice tips and some strategies on how to come up with different rhythms. Before we dive into the video, I have a huge announcement that I would like to make. After tons and tons of planning and several months of hard work, I am super excited to announce that I will be launching the Scott Paddock Sax School in October. The Scott Paddock Sax School is an online subscription-based membership that is set up exactly the way I teach private lessons. So if you enjoy my YouTube content, then you're really gonna love the Sax School. It's set up in a similar way in the way that I break down all of the subjects, but this is way more in-depth, and it's set up in lessons and courses, and there is a direct path from where you're starting to where you want to be. There are play-along examples throughout the entire school, printable, downloadable PDFs of all the music that we're talking about, and we take it step by step, and you never have to guess about what you need to practice, what you need to work on, and what you need to work on next. It's all set up for you in a direct path. If you are looking for some structure to learning the saxophone, then this is the spot. This is your website. The web address is scottpaddocksaxschool.com. Again, scottpaddocksaxschool.com. I'll put a link in the description of this video. Signups will start in October, but the homepage is open now, and it'll give you a whole bunch of information about the Sax School. And if you would like to become a founding member, one of the first people to join the Sax School, there is a mailing list. Put your name on the mailing list, and you will get priority announcement about when the enrollment is going to open up. And the founding membership will be limited to 200 members. So make sure you get on that list if you want to be one of the first people to sign up. So check out scottpaddocksaxschool.com for more information on my brand new subscription-based membership saxophone school. Let's get back to the tutorial. The biggest mistakes that students make when they're trying to figure out how to come up with new rhythms is they do it when they're in the middle of trying to play a solo. If you're not really comfortable coming up with different rhythms in a solo, the best place to start doing it is not necessarily in the solo. You want to break it down when you're playing scales. So I'm going to give you a couple strategies on how to open up your ears to different rhythms so that when you're soloing, these rhythms will just start to pop in and you'll be able to place them in on purpose instead of just hoping that you can play a different rhythm. It's actually pretty easy when you break it down. The easiest and first step to take in coming up with new rhythms is deliberately changing the rhythm of notes in your scale. So I'm going to play the G major scale as quarter notes. I'm going to play it again, and this time I'm going to repeat a note in the G scale. So I just repeated the G. I played G, G, A, B, C, and so on and so forth. So we're going to do that for each scale degree just to open up your ears so that you can hear these different repeated notes. So I'll start on the G, and then I'll repeat the A, and then I'll repeat the B, and so on and so forth. Now I'm going to repeat the second note in the scale, which is the A. The third note, which is the B. The fourth note. And so on and so forth. Now that might not sound super exciting, but it's the first step in opening up your ears and getting used to changing rhythms deliberately to make things sound differently. Now, for the first example, we've repeated one note. This time we're going to repeat every other note. And this time we're going to turn it around. I'm going to repeat the A, the C, and the E, and that's it, and the G at the top. After you've done that a couple times, you can repeat whatever notes in the scale you want. So just by repeating one of the notes in the scale, we've come up with all of these rhythms and kind of freed up our ears as far as what sounds good and what works. So it's just going to automatically start to fall out in your saxophone as you're taking a solo. The next step would be doing the exact same exercise, but this time throwing in a triplet. On the second degree, which is an A. On the third, which is a B. Throughout the rest of the scale. And then, of course, putting the triplets on different parts in the scale. Again, the goal is not to come up with the coolest rhythms in the world at this point. The whole idea is just to open up your ears to different rhythms. Now, we're going to combine what we just did with the two exercises. This time, I'm going to play a triplet, 2 eighth notes, and a quarter note. A triplet, 2 eighth notes, and a quarter note. That's really different. Now I'm going to switch around. I'm going to play a quarter note, 2 eighth notes, and a triplet. So as you can hear, as we deliberately change this scale, we can hear all different kinds of rhythms going on, and it just completely frees up the way you're going to think about rhythms. Now I'm doing it on a G major scale. You can do it on any scale. You can do it on a dominant seventh scale, a mixed leading scale, a minor scale. You can do it on all of your major scales. You can do it on any scale, but this is the idea behind it. Now the next thing that you can do that's going to make it sound way better and way more creative is throw some rest in there. So I'm going to deliberately put some rest in this major scale. And so on and so forth. This time I'm going to put the same type of rest, but I'm going to put it on different notes. By doing that, it really gives you a ton of different rhythms. And again, we're just trying to build our rhythm cache, our rhythm storage place of things that we can play and get our ears and fingers used to playing all these different rhythms. Now I'm going to play the G major scale, and I'm going to play a quarter note, 2 eighth notes, triplets, and throw some rests in. So we've got all kinds of rhythms going on, and I'm just doing it in the major scale so that it's all locked in. But once you get really comfortable with it, do it in a key as opposed to just the scale. So this time I'm going to do it in the key of G, and all that means is I can go up and down all over through the range of my saxophone as opposed to just staying in the octave. So I'm going to use the same thing, quarter notes, eighth notes, triplets, and some offbeats by putting that rest in, and I'm just going to play all over the whole range of the G major scale. So many different rhythms. Now I was just doing scale-wise motion. The next thing is jumping around in the scale, but using the same type of rhythmic concept. And so on and so forth. And the next step is doing the same thing, but instead of playing your eighth notes as a repeated note, play your eighth notes as different notes in the scale. So instead of do an eighth note between the G and the A. And same thing with your triplet. Instead of going, do 3 different notes for your triplet. So when you do that, you've got the whole scale, the entire range of your saxophone. You've got these rhythms where you can repeat the note, or you can just use the rhythm on different notes, and it will sound like this. There are so many options when you start to think about your rhythms that way, and you break them down into small nuggets that you can move all over the place. Another great way to open your ears up to rhythms is to take a rhythm from somewhere, anywhere. It could be a solo that you heard, it could be a line that you heard, it could be a melody that you heard, it could be anything. I'm going to show you one using the cheese ending lick from jazz standards. That's a pretty common ending for a jazz standard. I'm going to take that lick and I'm going to put it in my G scale just all over the place. So it's not going to sound the same because I'm not going to use the same intervals, but I'm going to use the rhythm throughout. So I'm going to use this rhythm, but I'm going to change the notes so it's going to sound different. That gives you a lot of options also. So when you start taking these rhythms from other places and then putting them in your practice, again, the whole idea is just opening up your ears to different rhythms. The more comfortable you are changing the beat around and switching the beat around and coming up with creative rhythms, the easier it's going to be to play them in your solos. Here's another one. From the Chicken. I'm going to use that rhythm in the blues scale all over my saxophone. I'm playing G blues. So I'm just taking this rhythm and I'm putting it all over my saxophone. This time I'm going to play it 2 times in a row. This time I'm going to play it 2 times in a row, but I'm not going to wait, so I'm going to displace the second one. That gives you a whole nother realm of things you can do. So you take the original rhythm and then you shift that rhythm by an 8th note or a quarter note or a 16th note. So you're taking this simple idea and you kind of keep playing with it and purposefully shifting it around as you're practicing. And then the whole idea is the more you do this, the more your ears get used to it and the more it starts to pop up in your solos. Once you get really comfortable coming up with all these rhythms, you can use the rhythmic development as your solo. In other words, you can play 2 or 3 notes and just keep putting different rhythms on it to make the focus of the solo be the rhythm that you're putting on the 2 or 3 notes. I'm going to use an F, a G, and a B flat. And I'm going to develop the solo with rhythmic development on those 3 notes. As you can hear, I'm just taking those 3 notes and I keep shifting the rhythm around so that the 3 notes sound cool and they sound more like a solo idea than me just playing 3 notes. Now, when you do that and you repeat some notes and you shift everything around even more, you can come up with some super cool stuff. All I'm doing is taking those 3 notes and throwing a whole bunch of different rhythms on it to try and make it sound a lot more interesting. Those are some practice tips and strategies for rhythmic development. So try this out. Do it deliberately on scales and then on separate notes and try and just get used to hearing these different rhythms. The more that you can hear these rhythms, the easier it's going to be for them to just show up in your improvisation. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. If you enjoyed this content, check out scottpaddocksaxschool.com to take your playing to an entirely different level and really get some structure in your practice sessions. Thanks a lot.